The god of thunder wields the mighty Mjolnir and commands the power of lightning to vanquish all who stand before him. For my first playthrough of LoreRim, I wanted to get a nice mix of melee combat and magic, and this build does exactly that. There are a handful of great lightning spells that offer a variety of utility to really make you feel like the god of thunder. Our character here is a Nord, as I really valued the resistances that Nords get, along with the melee damage bonus, and even the shout cooldown is handy. For our starting location, I went with camping in the woods, as it follows the vanilla path to Whiterun, where we will be joining the companions for early game questing and experience. Starting off here, I will be selecting Kennereth, but we will be switching to Julianos later on. As for our traits here, I will be selecting Giant Ken for the magic resistance and the blunt damage increase, and Jack of all spells for the increased spell power and duration for novice, apprentice, and adept. By time we get to expert spells, we'll be ready to use Dragon Soul to get rid of that trait. I do go here into extended UI just to turn on the attribute modifiers, just so that we can see where our base magic, health, and stamina are. For starting choices, we are going to start with a silver mace, as this will be our main weapon for a while to come. And I just start with a torch, some various potions, and a novice hood. And then for my food choice, I just pick up a couple venison stew. Now, if you pick camping in the woods, and depending on how you have your experience mod configuration menu set up, you may or may not level up when starting off. In our case, we did level up. If you didn't, just after you get your first level, this is where I would put my perks in. Choose Weapon Mastery. Penetrating Strikes would be the one you would have to wait until you level up, as you'll need those 5 points in one-handed to get up to the 20 level requirement. And then we'll put a perk into Evasion, and then our last perk will go into Novice Restoration. As for our spells, we'll be grabbing Healing and Circle of Strength. Lastly, our Standing Stone selection, we will be going with the Apprentice Stone on this build, which with Giant Ken giving us 10 magic resist, the minus 25 magic resist won't be as detrimental early on. And once we get to Master Spells, we will no longer have to worry about that anyways. Taking on these bandits right off the bat is definitely not necessary, but I always like to throw in a little bit of combat early on, and you know, it's a little bit of XP, so helps us level up. Always try to take out the Archer Bandit with a forward power attack, just to get down to 2 bandits so we can try to get them separated to fight them one-on-one. As you can see here, kind of went in guns a-blazing, trying to take care of the orc. Took a big chunk of damage, but now we've got this other bandit one-on-one. We can just use our circle to get some stamina back and take care of these early game bandits. Definitely not taking on Embershard Mine, as there are way too many bandits for us to take on at this point in the game. Just going to deal with these wolves on our way to the treasure chest. Loot whatever treasure we get. Probably not much, but some nice stuff to sell so that we can buy ourselves a basic camping supplies, which is exactly what we're going to do here at the Riverwood Trader. Unfortunately, no backpack. One fight that is important to get involved with is the Companions versus Giant fight, as we will get a giant amount of XP for helping out. Now, I don't know if you actually have to be involved in the fight, but I don't mind getting my hands dirty. Make it up to level 3, we're just going to put our point into stamina and level up one-handed evasion and our 3 magical skills. Once we get our 3 magical skills up to 25, we'll continue to primarily focus on them with one-handed as our secondary leveling skill. And evasion can kind of take the back burner for a while. Once again, always take care of your archers first when you have a small group of bandits. Coming over here is important because we're going to grab the Khajiit Caravan Note, which we can trade for almost 2,000 gold, which is a nice chunk of change to have early on. Help you buy some spells or gear or whatever it is that you need. Now that we've made it to Whiterun, we're just going to pick up any early game quest we can get our hands on. The missives board is a great place for this. You can go down the rabbit hole of collecting a bunch of missives, going to the next town, collecting more missives, and so on and so forth. We're going to continue to work on the main quest so that we can get some more XP and put these levels into our magical skills. And getting restoration to 25 here will let us take Apprentice, where we'll grab healing aura on self and recuperate. And even more importantly, grab the focused mind perk, which is going to really help our magic regen early on so that we can more effectively use our magicka in combat. Joining the companions and continue to get that sweet XP and just pick up some of the quests from the companions. And pretty much between companions and missives, you can take care of all of your early game XP up to about level 10 or so. Just keep progressing those quests and keep getting gold and keep getting XP. So as you see, we're just going to keep leveling up Alteration, Destruction, and Restoration with a minor focus on one-handed and evasion. Important grabs here in the Apprentice Destruction tree are Circle of Entropy, which is going to help us do our buff spells in pre-combat, and Lightning Weapon, which is going to be great early on as well, or our Unenchanted Silver Mace. Going to join the Dark Brotherhood mostly just so we can grab the boots, which give 80 stamina rank 2, and the gauntlets give 15 armor penetration. Later on, we'll swap those out for the Alakir gauntlets, which just give 15% one-handed damage, which once we've maxed our armor pen is going to be better for us. And now that we've got our skills in a good place, it's time to put them to good use and work on some gear upgrades. First is going to be Savior's Hide. I always like to tell Sending that I'm going to help him, and then of course turn on him in classic Elder Scrolls fashion.
You've done well, Hunter.
Going up to Adept Destruction here, and then we're going to work on our first major weapon upgrade. Over here in Foralhost, you can use some parkour skills to climb up the rocks over here, or you can use your paraglider power to jump up in the air and fly over here. There is a spirit shouting enemy here. Just run right past him and grab the Good Death and move on. The Good Death has the same strength as the Bouncer, so it's nothing too crazy, but obviously we're here for the model. And now that we have our perks and our gear in a good place, we're just going to continue working on companions quests or bounties or really whatever you want to do for up until about level 30 or so, and just play the build, enjoy how it plays. Really like using the lightning hook spell, definitely the MVP spell of this build as far as the mid to late game, as far as how much fun it was to use. And then for the final upgrade here, we are going for probably the LoreRim classic of light armors, the Daedric Mail set over here in Red Scar Cavern. It's a bit tricky with the blinding flames in this dungeon, but you want to take out the other mage here because he keeps summoning more Dremora for us to have to deal with, and there is one slighted here as well. So best to just take on the ad enemies so that we have an easier time taking on the boss. Because if you're familiar with the armor set here, it does have some decent health regen on it, so if you're only getting little pot shots off on the boss, it's going to be hard to take down because it's going to keep regenerating while you're focusing on fighting everything else. One nice thing about using a lightning cloak is that it will reveal the Dremora, so you're able to see them easier. For the slighted, that is. And just going to show off the armor here. Now, one of the most important spells for this build when going on the melee focus is the spell called Holy Shock from Triumvirate. You get it from the Priest of Arkay and Falkreath that you find in the graveyard from the beginning of Hircine's quest. He will sell it to you. It is an expert destruction spell, and it adds sun and lightning damage to your power attacks, and that will stack with the lightning weapon and greater lightning weapon as well. and you will just see enemy health bars just start draining extremely fast with chained power attacks. And later on with the Destiny perk that makes your power attacks reduce enemy armor rating and magic resist, you start chaining these power attacks together, reducing the enemy's magic resist further and further, and just continuously do more and more damage with the Holy Shock. You can see here from these dragon fights, chaining the power attacks is key. Even taking on 2 dragons at once, no big deal. You just gotta hug the dragons real close. They can send you flying, so it is really important to have feather falling on pretty much at all times when fighting dragons like this. Because sometimes you do get sent flying halfway across the map and you might take fall damage, so best be prepared. When you unlock the sprinting power attack perk, it really does give you great mobility, especially in third person. I really did like the mix of third person and first person combat. I do find against dragons it was easier to play in third person just because it's kind of hard to see what's going on when you're inside the dragon's model in first person. But the third person sprinting power attack was also really nice to control. And you can chain them together really well, and with that Destiny perk reducing magic resist and armor rating, you really start to stack those debuffs up and do some insane damage. For Blackreach, I did switch the Cuirass back to Saviour's Hide, and if you haven't noticed already, we are using a replacer for the 1 for the Saviour's Hide and 2 for the Daedric Mail set. I am using the Ysmir armor by Fourth Unknown. I just made a custom plugin to replace the Daedric armor just because it didn't really fit the theme of the character, and I felt like the Ysmir armor really fit well. But using Saviour's Hide and Blackreach for the poison resist, because without it we did not have max poison resist, and I felt that was probably going to be pretty important in here. So with max poison resist, high magic resist, and high frost resist, I really wasn't too worried about Blackreach. I gotta say, Blackreach was actually really fun to go through with the sprinting power attacks. You'll see very often how much it is my favorite attack. I'm definitely not used to the combat styles of LoreRim, as this is my first playthrough, but it was pretty enjoyable, fun to learn. You pretty much almost never want to be light attacking. There are times where I think, oh, I'll just light attack just to, you know, finish this enemy off, or I think I'm gonna get enough damage to kill him, but the power attack is definitely the bread and butter, and the sprinting power attack is so good.
The darkness calls to you.
And I figured that our easiest enemy boss type to take on with this build would be Enchanted Spheres, because we do blunt damage and shock damage, the 2 things Enchanted Spheres don't want to see. And boy was I right, we really shredded the Enchanted Sphere. Now, I am missing the footage of taking on the Dragon Priest that holds the Daedric Mace, but that is something that we will upgrade to now that we are fighting Dragon Priests. So whenever you see my UI on the right change from the Good Death to Mjolnir, you'll know that's when we picked up the Daedric Mace, because I did go in there and I edited the model of the Daedric Mace to be the same as the Good Death, and then I named it Mjolnir. But as you can see, we make some pretty quick work of Dragon Priests. That lingering sun damage really shreds them. And I was pretty worried about how the game would perform with the mass amount of undead, relying specifically on blunt damage and shock damage, 2 things that undead do resist. But that as much as I praise it, the Holy Shock spell it deserves all the praise that it gets, because it really carries this build and its ability to take on just the mass amount of undead. Honestly, the room here before fighting Miraak was more tough than actually fighting Miraak. Looking back on it, I probably should have abused combat reflexes a little bit more here. But the 3 unnamed dragon priests with the 3 elements were really starting to take their toll on me here. The dragon priests lowering your elemental resists was it's a bit challenging for this section. Them all working in tandem to lower my resistances and continuously do more damage. Luckily, using tree rings on Okado's recital really helps you enter the fight with a lot of health, and that's not anything new, nothing revolutionary, but it is quite the boost to be able to take on even later game content. But early game helps a ton, of course, too. And then finally, the big boy himself, Miraak, getting combat reflex cheesed till the end of time. I'm at a bit difficulty controlling my character here, but you just get the sprinting power attack chains going, and there's just nothing he can do. And obviously, there's no point in showing the Estormo fight because he doesn't do anything. And a 1, a 2, and a 3. Now, another big power spike here before getting to master spells is taking on the Night Matron. And that's because the Night Matron has a very particular spell for us. That is Cascading Torment. These spells probably need a heavy nerf, but you know, they're in the game. So it does shock, and it's like a blood shock spell that absorbs crazy amount of health and does a crazy amount of shock damage. And here we're checking out the Cyclonic Rift spell, and you just see it absolutely shred the boss here in the Soul Cairn. And our favorite combo in action. Unbound Storms, Fingers of the Mountain, say goodbye to everything around you. Very fun. This one Dragon Priest managed to dodge our random lightning spells because of the cover over here, but Lightning Vortex takes care of any solo enemy, no problem. And one of the final fights of the game just comes down to holding down one spell and casting another. And if you're wondering how I'm able to continuously hold this down and keep casting while not losing magic, let me introduce you to a fun spell called God Form. Master Restoration spell, you can put it on Okado's recital, and it'll cast whenever you enter combat, and for 60 seconds, as long as you're at near full health. I think it's near full health. You restore an insane amount of magic to the point where you basically just don't lose magic. And the crazy thing is, with a spell like Lightning Cascade, absorbing an insane amount of health, you could pretty much just stand in front of any enemy and just hold that down, and you will never lose health, you will never lose magic. It's just pretty much an infinite combo. And for our finale here, one Dragonborn versus the other, the God of Thunder versus Miraak. I can't say that I've ever actually fought Miraak in Requiem outside of 3 tweaks. This may be a first. So I am trying to take down some of the dragons here flying around, because if you don't know, if you do kill them, then he won't be able to absorb their soul to fully heal himself. But his spells were hitting me a bit too much while I was trying to focus on the dragon. And with Sotha's Maelstrom, it's kind of hard to see anything above us. Very cool spell, reducing the enemy's magic resistance in an area around you, but makes it very hard to see in first person. This was quite the fun and interesting build, and I was very excited to see this build come to life in a Requiem-based list. And I'm not sure if I'll do another video like this or any other LoreRim style videos. I do plan to try the list out a bit more. Excited to see how the final update looks. I know this video wasn't as well laid out as some of the other high quality LoreRim build videos out there, but these type of videos aren't my normal thing and do take a lot of time, and I just haven't had that kind of time lately, so I did want to at least get this out there, being that I did have all the recorded footage. So I do hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned some cool things about LoreRim or the possibilities, and enjoyed the build. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later. See ya.